What I would like to do now is show you how to use Excel to build a dashboard. If you had Accounting 6270 this past spring, you participated in the unit where we learned how to use Tableau to build dashboards. Once you get your screens built in Tableau, as you remember, it's fairly easy to build a dashboard by simply clicking and dragging to a new tab. Well, Excel is not much different, except that there's a lot more work on the front end, setting up your files and your spreadsheets and your individual graphics before you create the dashboard. Let's go see what a finished dashboard would look like. So this is the finished dashboard I use for evaluating our progress and our enrollment. You see I've got a number of majors over here in the center. Over to the left, I've got my graduate head count by MBA and MAC. I can change that. If I just want to look at MAC, I can just look at MAC. If I just want to look at MBA, now it's only showing me 1 year, right? So if I want to look at all years, I go over to my academic year slicer and I make sure it shows all years. So this is our MBA enrollment over a 5-year period from 15 through 20. This is my MAC enrollment. I can look down here, I can see percentage of online versus on-campus courses. We have an average over the 5 years of 29%. What's interesting, you can see, if you look at this right here, you can see how we've got 22% before we started the MAC. Once we started the MAC, it went to 31%. Second year of the MAC went to 35%. Third year of the MAC, it went to 37% of our total. Here's our high impact course headcount. I can look at my enrollment by faculty members, so I can see over time which faculty members generated the most enrollment, which generated the least enrollment. You'll notice this one is for Dr. Bunny. It's pretty low, but because she didn't start with us until September 2018. So normally, actually, I think she started September 2018. But hers is kind of a low number, but that's okay. That's because she doesn't have 5 years worth of data. She only has 3. So I've got a bunch of things. Now, how did I get those? That's what we're going to do next. We're going to go look at a spreadsheet. We're going to look at data, and we're going to figure out exactly how I got these. I'm going to show you how I got to these graphics. So I'm going to start with a blank dashboard and my basic data file. Here's my enrollment data. We're going to go to the easy one first. That's degrees and majors. So let's go straight there. These are set up in this way. I've got years across the top, and I've got my items here that I want to graph. Now, as we're going to see in a moment, this is not the best way to set up your data. This limits us. So if, for example, this was in a table format, and I wanted to use, if I wanted to insert a pivot chart into this, I'd have a difficult time doing it with this data. I'd have to first save it as a table, and then what I'd have to do is I would, let's go see, we can see the data, see what it looks like here. So I would then need to take this, click on it. I would go to Insert, Pivot Chart, and Pivot Table, and I'd go over here and let's just put it right here for right now. I'd have a difficult time, but the only thing I can set up on this is I can set up majors. It's very difficult to set up anything else. I can't set it up for years. It's very difficult to create a pivot table or pivot chart with this data. It would need to be in a different format. So let's get rid of this since this isn't going to help us at all. And see how we would do this. If all you want if you don't want to have a pivot table, if all you want to have is simply your just a regular Excel table, and you want to graph that. So the easiest way to do that is to simply take our years. This is fall census data, so we'll take fall each year, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We don't know 2020's census. I'm going to highlight that. Then I'm simply going to go to Insert, and I'll go to Bar Graph, and it's going to give me a bar graph. I don't particularly like that one, so let's see. Let's get rid of that. The reason it gives me that, by the way, if you look at this, if I try, I'm highlighting a table, right? And so when I do this, if I insert this, it's going to give me effectively 2 different sets of data. I got the undergraduate data here and the graduate data over here. I really want them together. So I'm going to get rid of that. And what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this table. I'm going to go back to insert. I'm going to go, excuse me, I'm going to click on the table. I'm going to go to table design, and I'm going to click convert to range. I'm going to convert it back to a range of data instead of a table. So now when I take this and I go and insert my bar graph, of course, it's going to give me something I'm more used to. I am going to change, I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to change the title of this to majors. I always like to make mine bold and black. You don't have to, but I kind of like to. And I like making my titles 18 point font. I'm also going to change this format. The chart design, I like the little shaded background. I kind of think that looks good. I also don't like these blues and oranges. I'm going to change my undergraduate. I'm going to make that purple, so I'll go right click, format into my data series. I'm going to go over here and fill that with purple. Now the other data series, I'm going to click on it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that to yellow or gold. Now with purple and gold, I don't like where my numbers are, so I'm going to click on those and right click, and we're going to go to format data labels, and I'm going to first of all, I'm going to put those outside the end, and I'm also going to change the color. When I go to text options, I'm going to change the color to black. I'm going to do the same thing with my numbers here. I'm going to use text option. I'm going to change that to black. I'm going to go to label options and put them outside, and boom, I've got that right. Except I don't like my series down here, so I'm going to have to right click. I'm going to go to select data. I'm going to name these two series now. This one's going to be undergraduates, except I can't spell apparently. And then the other one will be Mac. And I've got that. Now the way I put this in my dashboard is simply right click and I copy it, and I go back to my dashboard and I click up in this upper cell and I paste it. So there's my first item in my dashboard. So that's how we would take just a plain Excel file that's not a table format and create an item on a dashboard. Now what we're going to do, now this will change, by the way. You go back, if I go back here and change this, and let's say I change, let's just be outrageous. Let's change this one here. Instead of 35, let's change that to 200. Okay, it changes it here, and if we look, it's changed it there as well. So it changes the data on that. So we can go back here and we can undo that, and it will change it over here. So that's the other thing. If it's just a straight Excel dashboard, Excel thing, when you change the underlying data, it actually changes your chart, and it changes what'll be on your dashboard would update automatically. That's not necessarily the case when you do use a table and use pivot tables, as we're going to see in a moment. So let's go look at our data first, and then we'll see what we've got, and we'll talk about how we can make different charts for our dashboard. So I'm going to go to my enrollment data tab, and you see this is set up really differently from the way we had it set up before. This data starts out, this is my enrollment data. So for each term, each academic and calendar year, I've got each class, and I've got the course number, the section number, I've got all the information, how many students were enrolled in it, etc. And I've got that data all the way back. You scroll down to here, I got it all the way back to fall 2014. So I can take this data now and I can work with it. I've also added some cells to this data, so some computations. I can know whether or not this is an on-campus or an online course. I can tell whether or not this is an undergraduate or graduate course, whether or not it's MBA or MAC. I also have a computation out here at the end. It tells me whether what my total student credit hours are, and also what my high impact is for this particular is this a high MEC course or not a high impact course. So when I go through and now look at this data, what I'm going to have is some data that I can work with. You'll notice this data is already in a table, and so what we're going to do is we're going to create some pivot charts and tables based on this data, and we're going to put each pivot chart onto a separate tab. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a tab. and there's the tab right there. We'll rename it later. I'm going to go back to my data. I'll click in anywhere in my table, doesn't matter. I hit insert, and I'm going to go over here to create pivot chart and pivot table. I want both. So here's my pivot chart and pivot table. I'm going to put it somewhere. Where I'm going to put it is I'm going to go over to this tab, and I'm going to put it up here in this cell of this tab, and it puts it in for me. Hit OK. So now I've got all this data in here, and I can do stuff with it. Now with the data set up the way it is, I can do a lot more things with it. What I'm going to be actually graphing, of course, is my enrollment. Right? So I put enrollment down here. Also, what I want to do is I'm going to be doing this by academic year. So I'm going to drag that down into my legend series. So I get by year. And I also want to, I don't want all my stuff. I only want my graduate stuff. This particular graph, I'm going to look at my MBA versus my MAC enrollment. I want to sort of look at that and track it. So I'm going to have MAC versus MBA as a item on this. But first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a filter for my undergraduate graduate because I want to filter out all the undergraduate data out of this. So now I can go up here and I can click on this and say just graduate data is all I want. It's going to change my numbers, of course, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my MBA and MAC thing also down to my columns. And so it's going to give me columns for both. Now it's a little confusing because all these colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of my MBA classes gold, and I'm going to have to do that one at a time. So we'll go to Format Data Series, and it's going to let me fill that with the gold. I'm going to make all these gold. And actually, I think I'm going to, just for fun, I'm going to outline them in black. We'll outline them in black. So this one I know is MBA because it's gray, and over here it says the gray ones are MBA, right? So I'll fill it with gold. I'll outline it in black. This one is a MAC. See, the orange is MAC, so I'll go ahead and do MAC. So I'm going to make that purple. I'm going to make the MAC purple. The next one is an MBA. And let's see, let's make that one gold with a black outline. The next one, the green, is MAC 2019. So I'll right click it, make it purple. Now the question is, I can't see. I've got these other bars here, right? Now I can't see those. Why not? Well, if we look at this over here, Excel's kind of funny. It doesn't really show us everything you need. If I drag this down, I'll see the other items. And there they are. This blue is an MBA. So I'll right click it. And I will make it gold with a black outline. I'll make this one, this is a MAC, so I will make it purple. I'll make the next one yellow or gold with a black outline. There we go. So I've got that set up pretty much like I like to see it. What I would also like to do on this though is I want to add a slicer to it. I want to be able to slice this between MBA when I'm in thing between MBA and MAC. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go up to Pivot Chart Analyze. I'm going to insert a slicer, and my slicer is going to be my MAC or MBA. And I click on that. There's my slicer. I can take my slicer and I can add it. Right in here, I can make it, smaller, narrower. I could sort of do a lot of things with it, and we'll just put it in here. And I can actually, if I wanted to hide that legend, I could. I don't know if I really want to or not. You can put this inside the graph, put it outside the graph. I don't think it matters too much. I'll put it outside the graph. And once you have that, you simply click it, Shift, click on the graph, right click, copy, dashboard, cell, paste. And there it is. And that will tie, anytime I want to change it, I can look at MAC, I can look at just MBA, or I can look at both of them by clicking off my filter. So I've got already created a fairly sophisticated graph there. You notice it gave me a lot more capabilities once I set the data up in this other file. So I can go through and set up all these others. And what I'll show you also is how to tie some of these together. So I'm going to stop. What I'm going to do is when we come back for the next lecture, I'm going to real quickly show you how, when I have two different graphs with the same slicer, how I can tie those slicers together. So one slicer changes everything.